Good morning, everyone. Sorry to invite you to shift to our official language, which is English. I see, however, a lot of smiling faces in the room. I have to apologize that living here for 1 year and a half, I cannot still communicate, but I'm doing my best, and I will invest also to have some words in Hungarian in future. Let me start by thanking the organizers for inviting us, and I look to people that have been in contact with us for a number of events. So it's really with great pleasure that I take part in this conference today, because there is, of course, a lot to celebrate, and your success is our success. I hope that you would get to that point after listening to me. My role is to explain what the EIT is, European Institute of Innovation and Technology. One of the three running kicks is the one that gathers you today, EIT ICT Labs, but there is an institute caring about these communities. And by the way, our headquarters is just across the street. So I hope that now you understand why it's so easy to be in touch. But again, it's a big pleasure because indeed our role is about empowering people, and human contacts are always important. So the fact that we are here should mean something. And again, the Hungarian community is very active in ICT Labs. ICT Labs is also among the three running kicks. And again, we are doing our best, not just to provide support, but to also encourage ideas. So I would get you through a short presentation about the role of the institute and why do we need an institute, and which builds upon the kicks, which are our operational arms. And I would conclude with some ideas about what added value the EIT should provide beyond the kicks, because this is also important. So that not just partners or talented individuals taking part in the activities of the kicks and the EIT benefit directly, but also the EIT as an institute benefits citizens overall, because our budget comes through the Parliament, and the Parliament, European Parliament, represents citizens. So I'll start with the presentation describing a bit the problem, because indeed many solutions start with a good analysis of the problem, and the problems or challenges may turn out into opportunities. Here you see factually the trajectory of leading innovators in Europe versus other parts of the world, if you consider the 20th century altogether. So this is backed by evidence by Bruegel, one think tank based in Brussels, with data coming from IPTS, the Sevilla Institute of the Joint Research Center. Well, the evidence is very simple, that Europe was 100 years ago a continent of entrepreneurship-driven innovation. Many of the multinationals that today are providing jobs to citizens were created at that time. But unfortunately, when you get closer to the end part of the century, and this is particularly true for the ICT field, you don't observe this phenomenon any longer. In other words, leading companies that scale up to global leaders were created mostly in the United States and not so much in Europe. So this is a fact. But again, we should do something, of course, that this is not continued. Because behind this, again, there are people. There are people behind the companies, that multinationals that we know, and there are also people behind these recent companies created at the other side of the Atlantic. And there is no evidence whatsoever that talent is distributed in one country or versus the others. Nobody has the monopoly of talent. So there are no reasons why Europe, if we look at this phenomenon from the people's perspective, why Europe, again, could not be as successful as other continents. So let's start with a humble recognition. There is some work to be done to take care about this. The problem is, again, Europe is not having only a challenge concerning the age of its citizens, but it's also the age of its innovative companies. So the evidence says that, in fact, the innovation gap with the US is basically explained by this phenomenon. We miss this population of companies that are created by individuals, are scaled up to world leaders. So again, this is about people, because indeed innovation is not only about patents or publications, it's about people taking their knowledge in their hand, together with their willingness to try And then how do we change this? Well, the EIT is formally mandated to implement so-called knowledge triangle integration. If you look around Europe, a lot of public support is getting two sides of the knowledge triangle together, the business and the academia. But the missing partner has been, to a certain extent, at European level, the higher education. And we are talking here in a university. So universities are about changing the trajectory of people. And they can do a lot in terms of injecting not just the knowledge, again, but the skills for people to try. So if you want to change this continent and reconcile action with the challenges, we need higher education institutions. And this is precisely what the EIT is asked to do at European level. Of course, if you look nationally, regionally, there are places, clusters, scientific parks, incubators, where this is no longer a novelty. But at European level, it is a new agenda. And this is the uniqueness of the EIT, putting the three sides of the knowledge triangle, but in the end equipping people, which are in the center of this triangle, with the knowledge and the skills to make entrepreneurship-driven innovation a more vibrant reality in Europe. So a new agenda, again, the EIT is asked to implement, putting these three sides of the knowledge triangle together, and then in the end nurturing this attitude of people to also produce innovation through their own career path by creating products, but also their own companies, etc. So you see this translated here into a telegraphic statement, a note about our mission. I will come to that in a moment. If the KICs are innovation factories, the EIT is asked to be an innovation policy factory. In other words, trying which has not been tried, and doing everything but business as usual. Because again, if we continue business as usual, I don't think Europe would be very far from what it is today. So you look at this translated into three statements: idea to product, something you have heard elsewhere; love to market, again, something which is being repeated elsewhere; but students to entrepreneur is something unique of the EIT. So again, this is linked to what we want to do together with our communities, the KICs, and their higher education institutions in particular. Why are these creations unique? They are unique in many respects. I understand that many people in the audience don't have to be convinced because you are partners in the ICT labs, or you are interested about what's going on here. But yes, it's very unique compared to other R&D consortia, because the KICs are integrated, they are established as legal entities, so they are living sculptures. These are living partnerships. It's not what the KICs are now, it's what they would become with the dynamics of the community. They are distributed internationally. Again, these are not local incubators or local clusters. These are European-wide consortia, thematically convergent, looking at societal challenges in the way that these challenges can be translated into opportunities. You see the big thing and the small thing, how to change these societal challenges and how to get in the end from those challenges opportunities for people to build their own career. So this is how the EIT has been set up. Of course, we could not implement our mission from headquarters, traditional approaches, and that's why the strength of the EIT is the KICs, and the strength of the KIC is the communities. It's communities-driven innovation. So these partners coming together from the three sides of the knowledge triangle, and they are interacting with the EIT, not in the traditional manner where you see a beneficiary and an administrative control, but we are about partnering. It's a living partnership again, where the KICs have their autonomy and they are steered very much as business firms. You have a construction to deliver innovation policy which replicates a lot of the practices of business firms in the governance of the community. I see now Gabor Bojai joining. I'm happy that there is always a member of the board around us, so thanks for joining. The KICs are there steered by the EIT, but they are not controlled in traditional, again, as other programs would do. for traditional collaborative consortia, which just look at the input side, because EIT is about output, is about impact. And Gabor, in fact, is chairing a working group of the board, which is precisely looking into it. Not just how do you pay or your share of the effort in the kick, but how this funding is translated into outputs from the kick, gathering support from the partners, and in the end, impact, linking back to the statement at the beginning, not just to create new companies, but some new companies scale up to global leaders. The size of the investment put through EIT is little money, in fact. If we would get some companies successful, we would already pay for the investment. But yes, these kicks are structured, and this is again unique, combining also not yet the codified knowledge, but also the tacit knowledge. So we need, again, people interaction, and this is precisely reflected in the collocation centers. Again, a unique setup. You don't see this as a requirement in other consortia. The consortia partners come basically together, they stay in their institutions, but here the kick is special because these partners crystallize their integrated approaches by having given hotspots where the interaction of the knowledge triangle takes place and the nurturing of talent of individuals is facilitated. So you see this distributed across the map of Europe. Still, we are talking about 3 first kicks. Of course, we are now asked to develop a call to set up a portfolio of kicks that would scale up to 9 kicks, including the 3 which are running. I know there are ambitions about Budapest, so I shouldn't comment on this. I guess Matti would build upon that. So I should just let you know that in addition, again, to the EIT ICT Labs, there are 2 other kicks, and they also have peculiarities, but all of them have this model of the collocation center. Now I would like to go to the second part of the presentation, which is again, okay, the kicks have their role, but why do you need an institute? Why EIT has to be set up as an institute and not a budget line or a program providing support? We have, I think, convincing arguments, but indeed we have to provide added value, again, even to partners, individuals not taking directly part in the kick activities. So starting with the what is unique about what we do? I already stressed a number of points. First, the education component, because this is again the missing partner. There are no European programs which are asked to integrate the education component at European level. And we do this, again, through the kicks. The kicks operationalize the label under the conditions defined by the governing board. The second element is about entrepreneurship, again, a phenomenon which is scattered across Europe, but there is not an agenda or the ambition of the EIT. So we want, again, not just to educate people for entrepreneurship, but also to scale some of these entrepreneurs to global leaders, which is precisely the third issue here. If all of the ventures and the projects end up into being locally or nationally successful, something would be wrong for the EIT. So again, at least some of our activities should become globally successful. And that would pay off, again, for the investment. So this is what concerns the what we do and what is unique of it, but we also want to be unique in the way we do things. Starting, again, with this obsession about outputs and results. Because a lot of projects, particularly for grants, are caring about the input. You promise to do something, you have the money. When the money is gone, the collaboration disappears. The EIT wants to create this dynamic so that these communities would remain sustainable at some point in time, for which they have to be accountable and they have to take ownership of their results. So the EIT would accompany them, and the board is establishing, in fact, through the working group I just mentioned with Gabor Boyar chairing, establishing metrics so that we have not only outputs but ultimate impact coming from these partnership operations. The second thing on which we want to excel is simplification, so that our finance is simpler to access than other programs. We have a number of derogations, but again, this is work in progress. We have, for instance, lump sums and flat rates now for educational programs. We have also sub-granting clauses whereby some partners can take part in the activities of the KICs without necessarily being a partner. So again, there's room for more flexibility compared to other programs. But yes, we want to be also unique by having an institute that disseminates all these learnings beyond the perimeter of the partnerships and the partners currently engaged in the current KICs or future KICs. I bring you a couple of illustrations. We have exemplars, but you can access also this publication because EIT should say something intelligent at least once per year. And we have put this as a commitment so that together with the KICs, we look into the learnings of their innovation models and we put this in a publication. And this is, again, available. This is codified knowledge we want to make available even to parties which do not take part necessarily in the activities of the KICs. And here there is an important element of alignment. Because you have heard about innovation policy in Europe being scattered at different levels, multi-level governance. Even people that would not take part in the EIT possibly can benefit from these knowledge triangle models and then have it reproduced so that there will be some resonance about what the EIT does through the KICs, but also what the EIT can help in aligning these agendas. I guess what you are doing, in fact, with the Hungarian government is very much about this. With this project, I understand you are celebrating today. So we would like to see this, indeed, this resonance so that the models are amplified through the KICs, but also reproduced even through structural funds in countries which maybe do not have the ambitions or the starting conditions to have a collocation center, but maybe they can reproduce this at another level. And they should find a helping hand in an institute called EIT to get this learning and put them to work. But yes, this is about codified knowledge. Not everything can be learned. We know more than what we can say. This is, again, a statement by Polanyi, a Hungarian philosopher. We know more than what we can explain. That's why you need people, human interaction, which takes me to the second illustration, conferences. You organize here a conference, which obviously has a Hungarian focus. We are organizing in a bit more than a month a conference in Dublin, which could be a European conference. So you are most welcome, because even if we try to explain everything in writing, we will not be successful. So possibly you can, some of you could come and join us there and to learn not just from this KIC, but also the other KICs. I should end up by giving some words of encouragement, because these are indeed activities at EIT level that we are committed to do, but the KICs, of course, have a long way to go. And so if we talk about, again, benefiting Europe, I think the KICs can also do a lot in that regard. Again, not just in Hungary, but taking Budapest maybe as a hub for some countries. So I think this concept is in the air. I wanted to inspire you further. Why this is important. So dissemination of good practice, I already explained, is of an essence, is part of our DNA, but the KICs should amplify and reproduce this, disseminating what this model is all about, what the collocations are doing, getting education, entrepreneurship, innovation projects together. Why is it important? Because, again, EIT is an institute for Europe, not just for the KICs. We work with the KICs for Europe. So it is important that this political expectation is translated into activities the EIT with the KICs can implement. To give you an illustration, we don't just put requirements, we want also to provide incentives to realize these requirements. So last year, we came up with 5% of our budget to make this first pilot about outreach activities possible through the KICs. And I know that ICT Labs took this very seriously with the X program. So the word here is really to encourage you, not just to take part, but to really amplify this further, because indeed that would only be to our advantage. The EIT again welcomes EIT ICT Labs Budapest Associate Partner contribution in that regard. Again, there is a natural terrain for Central and Eastern European countries that somebody should occupy. Again, as we said at the beginning, nobody has the monopoly of talent. So there is no evidence whatsoever that you cannot find talented individuals across the world. So, you know, why not trying from here to attract as many as possible? So again, you have a lot of encouragement to accelerate participation in this program, and we will try to provide again the means so that this would not be a burden, an extra burden. It would be accompanied with incentives that we can match with some extra funding. I would like to conclude presenting to you, but I look again to Gabor here with the vision of the EIT governing board. Just the director. The vision of the board is what you see in this slide, an entrepreneurship-driven impact investment institute. All these words count. This should mean, as I explained, direct deliverables through the KICs to partners and individuals taking part in the activities, but equally important, it should also mean indirect deliverables to citizens and member states of Europe in general, for which the EIT is very keen to build up this agenda of which I was talking to you. In the end, it's all about making Budapest a place where people can learn from our headquarters, but again, we are not alone there. I am very optimistic, and I would like to think that what we are doing is relevant. I think if you look back to 1 year ago, I think the perception of EIT has changed dramatically in just 1 year, by putting the first results of the KICs on the table and presenting our ambitions more structurally. So I hope that there would be a day when we would gather in this room, or people would simply find it natural. If you want to know about the knowledge triangle, about this entrepreneurship innovation, go to Budapest and talk to the EIT. I hope that you would accompany us in our journey, and you would also help us realize this ambition. Thank you very much.